So, I say so a lot. I'm taking the opportunity with this season of Love and Backpacks to really do some learning and trial and error and on the job training, I guess. So far, it's been, very much stripped down and extended storytelling compared to what I was doing prior. I like it. It's giving me something to work with right now. It is helping me really think about what I want to try next, what I want to do with Love and Backpacks as a whole, maybe some new things that I want to experiment with and kind of test out. So I think it's been good so far. It's still early stages, but I think it's been good. With this next episode in particular, it features my friend Josh. I've known Josh for a couple of years. We, weren't the type of friends to, hang out regularly or, text back and forth, things like that. I met him through another friend who is in music, like Josh. And more recently, we've taken the time to kind of link up, periodically. I've always appreciated his, demeanor and his character and his talent, and his skill. And I just wanted to learn a bit more about him. And luckily for me, I have this project to take that time and really just sit there and listen to his story. And one thing about talking to Josh, even though I went in with no expectations, one thing with really talking to him is I got to learn a lot more about him. And I loved sitting there and just listening to what he had to say. And yeah, that's it.
I'm a composer and a performer and a songwriter, although that's kind of a composer. What I've really been exploring in my art is how to create spaces where the art is most resonant, right? And that I mean, obviously there's acoustic properties. Like, part of my performance is that every sound that I make is dependent on reflective surfaces for that sound. So that when I'm speaking in my house, there's a certain characteristic that happens, not only in my resonating body, but also as my house exists, and there's a certain vibe, I guess, to my house. A reason why I actually kind of stopped with my band is that a lot of the performance venues for music are loud, and their primary function is not necessarily to create a listening environment for music, but almost to just have the music be there. And I found that really frustrating. And so I've been really trying to examine how I can create a space where people will listen on my own. And a lot of what we do musically or just as artists is like we're isolated and alone a lot of the time, which is fine because I'm like really introverted, so it's great. But then there's something about when you perform for people where if they're paying attention, you just, intuitively feed off of their energy, and they put you in places that you never thought you would go. And when I'm there, I lose myself. When there are people listening to what I'm doing and paying attention, I become like a hollow vessel for the music, and my ego and my self-doubt and my fear about being vulnerable in front of people goes away. And so I think why I've, tried to do stuff like that in the past, like gathering people together in different places, is to sort of attempt to create a space where people can connect. I guess that especially the last few years, I've been a lot more isolated than I've been in the past, just because I've had a lot of personal changes. Like last year, I came out and I had a lot of mental health challenges that sort of popped up due to that, and also just kind of ignoring a lot of the sort of anxiety and depression that was just kind of looming cloud in my life. And I've got a better handle on it now, and I feel like my ability to express myself is a lot more free. And so I'm kind of slowly climbing back into society, and I feel like I'm a lot more open to actually being vulnerable, and I have the skills to do that. I had a good friend tell me that when they sort of heard my earlier recordings, that it was like I was sort of like weaving this elaborate puzzle, and I was sort of like asking the listener to seek out what I was trying to say, because I was afraid to say it. There's this idea that we're striving for comfort, but I don't know if being comfortable is really the path to joy. At least what I've learned is that if I really challenge myself and I really sort of am honest and really living my truth and sort of like not letting this fearful ego dictate my choices and my decisions in life, I'm able to sort of forge a path for myself that does lead towards joy, and allows me to connect with people in a really honest way. Because, you know, not that I have ever done it purposefully, but I've always, I guess just throughout my life, I've been hiding so much about myself that that I haven't really connected with people in an honest way. So, and that's created, you know, I just, you end up doing things that you're not proud of, and you sort of treat people in ways that you're not proud of, but it's fine. You know, we're all working towards, you know, being compassionate and being nice. So that's been largely at the forefront of myself. Really, I've learned that as I better myself, that, you know, the art I create is more true and it's more meaningful, and that, you know, the doors that are available to me, or just sort of I see them and I'm like, I feel like I can walk through them. But it's almost like those doors don't appear until you personally are ready to see them. Recently I was involved in a sort of like dream project. It was a musical project. Well, I should say I was involved in a project that most musicians would consider a dream project, where I was in a band and essentially they got signed to a smaller label, but it was one with a lot of connections to bigger opportunities. And I was involved for about a year and a half, and it was like we were almost getting going, and it was like almost going to be like, you know, basically having like everything just handed to me. This sort of producer appeared. I was just a little hesitant because I didn't think that this was the type of project that I was interested in. But then I sort of just spoke with the members and spoke with the producers, and it was like, okay, actually this is fine. Like, I can do this, and then I can do the other things, and this will provide me stability. This will give me, you know, this will give me opportunities to play on bigger stages than I'm used to and meet different people. Cut to a year and a few months after that sort of initial sort of meeting, and, you know, after we got signed, there was just basically a moment where it was just like, they were going in a different direction that I wasn't comfortable with, and that I would have been terribly unhappy. So it was this door, this golden door to this palace, but upon entering that palace, I would have been unhappy every moment of it, even though it was getting these external opportunities that I probably won't get again. Initially, it felt like it was that whole thing was kind of like a waste of time, because I spent a year and a half to almost 2 years just kind of like pushing and pushing and trying to make this thing work for me. But then it was like, okay, this isn't right. But what it showed me is that there's this, like, I was like, that's a door, that's a huge door. And like, I could have walked through that, and I could have been like, you know, really in a place that I never imagined that I could be in. So I left that, and I just made all these changes. I got rid of like my own project that was kind of providing me a lot of stress and anxiety. And then I went on this long trip, and within the first week of that trip, I randomly decided to go to this giant water tank in Colorado called the Tank. And I had no idea what to expect there. And then suddenly I was like amongst this tribe of people where I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually my tribe. These people are doing things that I'm like really interested in, and they're connected to all these people that I like love. And suddenly I'm like, based off of kind of meeting those people and some other people in town that I've gotten close to and started working with, I'm like suddenly like just a few steps away from the people I look up to the most musically. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is great. Like, it's almost like being shown that magical palace allowed me to realize that there's this other place that's always in the distance. That's like my truth. And if I just trust myself to allow myself to go there, and to trust that I do have the courage, and that even though I'm fearful, and even though I'm afraid and I feel unworthy, that I can go there and I can keep going there, because that's really going to provide me the most happiness. And I try to have this idea that I'm not a slave to being a musician even. You know, if I wake up one day and I say, you know, being a musician no longer serves me, I want to do something else, I'm going to stop. At least I hope that I have the courage to stop. But now I'm in the situation where I've returned from that, and the sort of magic of being away from your home has collapsed. Well, not collapsed, but it's turned into the reality of like, okay, well now I have to build that. It's like now is the time to do the work to actually get to that place. And so I'm completely freelance right now, and I'm so grateful that for what I have, but it's hard right now. It really is. Like, there's a lot of days where I don't really know what I'm doing, and I question why I'm deciding to do this. But I don't know. I don't, at this point, because I've seen what the potentials are for a different life, I don't know if I can go back at this point. There's a lot of really incredible people in the world, and I'd like to be friends with them. I don't know how else to say that, and I want to, just share my perspective on the world and sort of share ideas with people, because, I think that that's what I've learned from my, gurus, like the sort of mentors that I've gained throughout my life, is that, they've been invaluable to me, and they've shaped who I am, and my family and my friends, and so yeah, it's I don't know, that's like where I'm at.
That was great.
Thank you.
That was like so beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh my God.